Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli back out in the shop, and we have another great topic for you today. And in today's shop, we're going to be talking about how to select the right trailer for your favorite vibrating jig, aka chatterbait, right? How to select the right trailer for that vibrating jig. All right, before we get into the trailer selection, let's talk about a vibrating jig. It is really probably, in my opinion, one of, if not the hottest techniques to come out in the last 10 years. A vibrating jig, chatterbait style lure, is really a hybrid lure. It's a combination, in my opinion, it's a combination of a skirted jig, a crankbait, and a spinnerbait all rolled into one. And that combination of flash, vibration, sound, the sound of that blade hitting the head, the movement of that chatterbait, the movement of that vibrating jig, all those things connected make this a killer. The other great thing about a vibrating jig is this is one of the most versatile baits you can fish. Like a skirted jig, you can fish this thing in clear water, stained water, dirty water, great in dirty water, vibration. You can fish it in reservoirs and lakes and rivers and current and still water. And here's the great kicker, you ready? You can fish it winter, spring, summer, fall, works all year round. It's great around grass, it's okay around wood, but you can fish it around a lot of different cover and it really catches a lot of fish and big fish, okay? So no doubt, 100% fact, vibrating jig is one of the best lures that come out in the last 10 years. It's so good, I always have it tied on. There's never a rod in my boat that at least one vibrating jig is not tied onto, okay? So it's a great lure, you have to have it, but I want to really focus on this shop talking about what to put on the back. And I want to break it down for you into two categories of soft plastics that will help you catch more fish, okay? Like a skirted jig, I never, 0% of the time, fish it without a trailer. So the trailer is helping me catch more fish, attract more fish, and I want to use the trailer to complement what I'm trying to do with this bait, what I'm trying to do with this vibrating jig. So we're going to break it down into two soft plastic categories, and I'm going to give you scenarios for each one of those categories, okay? Let's start with the first one, and I'm going to break it down in these two categories, and the first one is non-action trailers on the back of your vibrating jig, okay? That term might be a little deceiving because these trailers have action, but it's not a lot of big action, and it's not a lot of action on its own. So non-action soft plastic trailers are a great complement because they're giving you additional action, but not a lot, right? It's allowing that blade to do most of the work, okay? So this category, the blade itself is what's going to activate that trailer. So maybe fluid trailers is another good word. Light action trailers might be a good word, or no action trailers. Two of my favorites, guys, and you know, if you've been watching the tournament world the last 4 or 5 years, you see a lot of guys use these baits. One is your traditional minnow style, soft minnow style lure, a fluke style bait, right? Is a great one. I'm going to rig it here in a second and show you. Another great one are I call them fishtail type of trailers. A lot of other companies make those kind of trailers. This is an amazing one for me. It's the Berkley Powerbait Power Stinger. You know, if you look at it, it's got a fishtail. This bait has a honeycomb design in the back half of the bait. And again, when you look at these baits, if you were to rig these on just a regular hook and throw them out there, it has very little action on its own. It almost just comes straight. Same thing with a fluke, right? If you threw that on a regular jig head and didn't twitch it, you just reeled it, just move straight. But by pairing them on a vibrating jig, these things are going to have a very subtle inline fluid movement, right? Not a big movement, an inline, just subtle, natural movement. And there's a time and a place for that, okay? So 50% of the time, no action trailers or neutral style trailers. Let me rig one for you real quick here and I'll just show you what it looks like. So we've got just a 1/2 ounce shad color vibrating jig. A lot of times when I'm using a full-size minnow style bait, this is a power jerk shad by Berkley, white, I'll just get it and bite it or cut it down. I maybe like take about 1 inch of it off there. And then when I thread it on there, you're gonna see that it really does make a nice profile on that vibrating jig, okay? Just inline, not a lot of movement. And I'm gonna use these style trailers under a couple key conditions, okay? So first one is ultra clear water. I'm a big believer in the neutral style trailers, the no action style trailers, right? The flukes, the minnow style baits. Because in clear water, this provides a more streamlined effect. I can reel it faster, okay? The clearer the water, faster I want to retrieve that. The other thing it does by using a non-action, no big action trailer, so the minnow style or the fluke, is along with it being able to reel it faster, it's going to get looser, okay? Because there's no grab, right? When you look at these trailers, there's no grab in the plastic. It's in line, right? It's going to get loose and it's going to hunt. And in clear water, when those fish can see it, I want to be able to reel it faster and I want it to hunt. I don't want it to come in straight as an arrow. I actually want it to stutter stop a little, right? You're reeling it, it kicks off just a little and catches again. And these inline neutral action style trailers allow that vibrating jig to get loose, to come off a center a little bit, okay? First scenario for the non-action chatterbait style trailers, clear water, want to retrieve it faster, want it to hunt more, go with that style trailer. Okay? The second one is what you're trying to imitate. I really want to talk about this because, you know, the profile of this vibrating jig to me is key. And when I'm in a scenario where I'm trying to imitate longer, thinner bait fish forage, 100% of the time I'm using these longer fishtail style neutral trailers, okay? Blueback herring, alewife, golden shiner, hitch, Cisco, you know, any forage that's longer and thinner. Look at the profile of that, right? We are mimicking the profile of that forage with this longer natural fishtail style trailer, okay? So clear water, longer forage to imitate it. And here's the last one, guys, last but not least. I'm gonna go to that inline, more neutral, non-action style trailer on my vibrating jigs when I wanna get it deep, okay? Really fishing a vibrating jig deep, and I'm talking about, let's call it 15, 20, even down to 25 and 30 feet. It doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's awesome. And the thing about this neutral inline style trailer is that it doesn't have a lot of lift, right? Think about it. Look at that, fluke style tail. There's that power stinger, just inline fish tail. And because there's no big plastic or appendages or action to grab water, it's streamlined. And that means I can get this bait deeper and not have the plastic lift it, right? It's not as buoyant as an action style plastic, okay? So third scenario for our first category, which again, non-action, more inline style trailers, flukes, minnows, fishtail baits, clear water, great long bait fish imitator, and when I want to fish it deeper, okay? Real quick, just to throw it out there, I also really like this in cold water because it doesn't have a lot of extra action in the back, and it sort of is a more compact, less action way to fish in the back. So cold water would be another bonus. All right, let's get to the next category. So if 50%, our first category was non-action trailers, now we're gonna get to trailers that have action, okay? So my second category is action style trailers on the back of my favorite vibrating jig, okay? I'm gonna give you two again in this category, just like I did for that one, and these are legitimately my two favorite. One is a boot tail style swim bait, okay? A 3-3, a 3-8 depending on the size of your vibrating jig, right? 3.3 or 3.8. I'm a big fan of the Power Swimmer by Berkley. Also a big fan of the Berkley Grass Pig. 2 styles in that bait. That's a swim bait with a paddle tail. And then my second bait in the action category of Chatterbait, of vibrating jig trailers, is a Craw. And if you've been watching my channel over the last few years, you see me throwing a Craw on the back of that thing a lot. Big fan of some of the Berkley Craws. Of course, the Berkley Powerbait Chigger Craw, one of the best crawls ever created. But man, this is a really good one that I've been using a lot the last year or two. And this is a crawl bait by Berkley called a Shape 108. And if you look at it, it's just got a little more pronounced crawl arms on it. And it's got a little flange on each arm that runs along the crawl that gives it a little more movement, okay? So again, the second category now that we're going to talk about are Chatterbait trailers, vibrating jig trailers that have action, okay? Whether it's a swim bait or a craw. And let me rig one and then we'll do the same thing. I'm going to give you scenarios where this is a better choice for your vibrating jig. This is the Shape 108. I think that's about a 3/8 black and blue chatterbait. And I'm going to take a little off that. I'm going to take maybe, let's call it 1/4 inch. Just bite that down, just make a little bit more of a compact profile. And I'm going to rig this on here. And a lot of times when I'm rigging this crawl, I want to make sure you understand this. I'm going to rig this thing sideways, not flat, okay? If I'm Texas rigging and I'm punching, I'm flipping, I'm going to rig it flat, right? But because I'm using it as a trailer and because I want this bigger action style profile, a lot of times when I rig it on that vibrating jig, I rig it sideways, okay? So instead of coming out of the flat part of the crawl, I'm coming out of the side of the crawl. And when I do that, just take a look at that profile, guys, okay? Just take a look at the profile. Just like the boot tail style swim bait, Power Swimmer, Grass Pig, whatever your favorite, 3.3, 3.8, that crawl. Now when I reel that vibration jig in, of course the blade's making it vibrate, but now in the back of that chatterbait, I have additional action, right? I have more back action, more movement. In the case of the boot tail, it's a left to right, but it's not neutral, right? It's movement. In the case of the crawl, a lot of good crawls out there too, besides the Berkley ones, it's more of a big flap. It's more of a big motion, okay? Let me start with the first one, which is dirty water, stained water, water where your visibility goes away, okay? You heard me say it. In clear water, man, when I've got a place and I can see down 5 foot, 10 foot, 15 foot, ultra clear water, I want a more inline neutral action trailer. But if I get to a place and it's dirty, the water's stained up, it's muddy, I want that extra action in the back. And it really becomes an aid for those fish to find the bait. So now you've got almost like a double action. You've got the vibration of the blade, and the blade's hitting the head, making a little knock. And now in the back of that chatterbait, you've got that boot tail or you have that crawl adding more action. Okay, so dirty water, stained water. I want an action style trailer on my vibrating jig. Number 2, now we're going to talk about mimicking different style forage, okay? And a lot of times I'm going to fish this bait when I'm imitating bluegill, when I'm imitating actual crawfish moving around the bottom, right? A lot of times a black chatterbait's a great catfish, stone cat or baby catfish imitation, right? So in those situations where your forage, instead of being long and thin, right, like a herring, long and thin, runs inline, perfect. But now my forage is bigger. A bluegill, a sunny, a brim, a warmouth, a crawfish, right? They have bigger action, they have bigger movement, and their profile is more round. Look at that crawl turn sideways on that vibrating jig. Dude, it's making that profile more oblong to do a better job of imitating that more round panfish style forage. crawfish as well, okay? So not imitating long, thin forage, but imitating rounder, fatter, bigger forage, bigger crawls. I want more action, okay? And last but not least, the opposite of our first category, which is an inline neutral action trailer. I'm going to use an action style trailer, boot tail swim bait, craw, when I want to slow this bait down and when I want to fish it shallow, okay? And the reason is when I want to slow this bait down, I don't want to throw this bait out there and have it sink to the bottom like a rock. I want to creep it along the edge of grass. I want to creep it around lily pads. I want to throw it by a dock in a foot of water and keep it just barely cranking along slow. When I want to slow it down, and when I'm fishing shallow, action trailers give you lift, okay? The opposite of that neutral inline trailer that let us go deep. This didn't have any lift. This just went down. That style trailer, because of the action, or it pulls the bait up. It has more grab. So now you've got the blade grabbing and you've got the tail of that craw or that boot tail swim bait grabbing. And you get more lift, which allows you to work it slower and shallower than the inline style, right? Man, when we were fishing 10, 15, 20 foot and we were trying to get that bait deep, great style trailer. But in 2 foot of water around lily pads, I think once they get too low, I go to an action style trailer. It's got more lift. It allows me to fish that bait slower. It allows me to fish it shallower. And it's a great choice when I'm fishing slow and shallow. Dirty water, imitating panfish or crawfish. I want an action style trailer. That was a lot, but I hope you really got the gist of a chatterbait with the right trailer is better. And a better chatterbait, a better vibrating jig means more fish in the boat. Man, I hope you like these shops. If you like what you're hearing, stop right now. Don't go any further. Hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to this channel. We have a new piece of content dropping every single week. If you're already subscribed, do me a favor. Spread the word for me. Help me out. Tell your friends, tell your colleagues, tell your fishing buddies about Mike Iaconelli Fishing on YouTube. We're here to help you become a better angler and hopefully catch more fish. So pick the right style trailer on your vibrating jig and catch more fish. Bye. Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli out in the shop. Thanks for watching. And if you like this video, you have to check out that one, and I hope you like them.